Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda and this is my channel, Her Pacific Northwest Washington Life. And today I wanted to share with you my next bi-monthly TBR. And these are just the books that I hope to get through the months of July and August. Probably primarily July, since August is the NEWT's Magical Readathon, and I'm not entirely sure if any of these books will fit those prompts, but if they do, I'll probably plan to read those towards August. So I do have a couple books written down that I own on Audible and Kindle that I'd like to get to, because this will help me get more towards my goal of reading the books on all of my TBRs that I had prior to 2020. So I figured I could knock off two in one book, since these books I do own on both Audible and Kindle. So I've got them written down. I also have synopses on my phone, so I'll be reading like the first paragraph from Goodreads about those, just to give you an idea of what these are about. I tend to kind of forget the books that I pick up on Kindle and Audible and their synopses, because I mostly pick them up because they are quite inexpensive, whereas physical books are typically books that I've heard people talk about for quite some time, so I've got a better understanding of what my physical book synopses are versus my Audible and Kindle books. But the first book I have is The First Mrs. Rothschild by Yardine Greenspan. And this one it's in the turn of the 18th century in Frankfurt, Germany, and young Gödel and Meyer Amschel Rothschild struggle to establish themselves in the cramped and restricted, pardon my pronunciation of this, but Jundengasse. But when Meyer's talents as a novice banker catch the attention of a German prince, Meyer is suddenly afforded entree into European world of finance and nobility, and the Rothschilds' lives are forever changed. So I think that'll be interesting. I don't think that one takes place during any of the wars. It said 18th century, didn't it? So it wouldn't take place during one of the Great Wars, which will be a nice, I guess, kind of break for historical fiction, since what I typically read for historical fiction does revolve around one of the Great Wars. So that's the first one. And then I also have The Memory of Us by Camille Desmaux, and this one is Julianne Westcott was living the kind of life that other Protestant girls in pre-war Liverpool could only dream about. Old money, silk ball gowns, and prominent young men lining up to escort her. But when she learns of a blind and deaf brother institutionalized since birth, the illusion of her perfect life and family shatters around her. So this is pre-World War, doesn't say a year, so I'm not sure which war this is. But it's pre-war, and I think that'll be a good story as well. I don't know a whole lot about it other than that, but I thought it sounded a little intriguing and kind of a little different perspective than what we normally get with books based around the Great Wars. And the next book I have is another World War II book. This one is Wives of War by Soraya M. Lane. I bought, I think, 4 of her books last year or the year before, without having read from her before, and I read the first one of hers, not first in publication date, just the first one I picked up, which was Hearts of Resistance, in April during the OWLs, and that one followed 3 different girls during World War II and the parts that they played in kind of foiling the Germans' plans and things like that. So Wives of War takes place in London in 1944. We've got 2 nurses meet at a train station with a common purpose: to join the war effort. Scarlett longs for the chance to find her missing fiancé Thomas and to prove to her family and to herself that she's stronger than everybody thinks. Nursing is in Ellie's blood, but her humble background is vastly different from Scarlett's privileged upbringing. Though Ellie puts on a brave face, she's just as nervous as Scarlett about what awaits them in France. And it looks like they go to Normandy, which is also not really a location I've read a lot about in regards to World War II. So I think that one will give me a lot more information, so that'll be good. The next book I have is The Beekeeper's Promise by Fiona Valby. And this one says, heartbroken and hoping for a new start, Abby House takes a summer job in rural France in the Chateau Bellevue. The old chateau echoes with voices from the past, and soon Abby finds herself drawn to one remarkable woman's story, a story that could change the course of her summer and her life. So I think these will all be interesting, to be honest. But I think it'll be cool to kind of have the background of beekeeping in there. The next books are kind of buddy reads. The first book is Circe by Madeline Miller, which is the group book in July for the B&P Book Club, which is a book club that is run on Facebook, hosted by my friend Darshell over at the channel Books and Planners. And I read The Song of Achilles last year on audiobook and really enjoyed that. So I've been meaning to get around to Circe. I just haven't yet. And what I know is this is just a retelling of the Greek mythology Circe, which I've never actually heard before. I think Circe is featured in the Odyssey, but I could be wrong. But it's got just a stunning foiled cover, and I think a lot of people really enjoy this book, so I'm really looking forward to getting to it. And the next buddy read I have is After the Fog by Kathleen Shoup, which I'm doing with my friend Rainy over at the channel Rainy Day Reads. And this book takes place in a town not far from Rainy called Donora, Pennsylvania. I know I butchered the names of some things when I was reading the synopsis when I hauled this book, and so Rainy promised to teach me those names. But this, the synopsis says, the sins of the mother. In the steel mill town of Donora, Pennsylvania, site of the infamous 1948 killing smog, headstrong nurse Rose Pavlicek tends to her family and neighbors. Controlling and demanding, she's created a life that reflects everything she missed growing up as an orphan. She's managed to keep her painful secrets hidden from her loving husband, dutiful children, and large extended family. When a stagnant weather pattern traps poisonous mill gases in the valley, neighbors grow sicker and Rose's nursing obligations thrust her into conflicts she could never have fathomed. I think there's something about a secret and other things like that that sound really intriguing. So I'm really looking forward to doing this buddy read with Rainy. I'm hoping that she'll be able to take a little road trip up to the town of Donora so that I can kind of see what it looks like now, and just kind of get a better understanding of what the town is like, so that we can kind of use that to transport us into the past a little bit. Other than that, the one book, Circe, and this next short stories are what I need to read in July. So for the Cosmere read-along, that I'm not entirely sure if it's still going on. I know there was a lot of controversy and things surrounding the creator of the Cosmere along, and I believe she's taken down all of her social media stuff. So I'm not sure if the other co-hosts of that are going to continue this on. I've got a to-watch list that's probably 2 or 3 weeks old, so I'm not sure if there have been new videos about this, but I'm still going to follow along with the Cosmere read-along and just keep going, because I think it's a good plan and it'll help me get through these books. So for July, getting back into some short stories in the Arcanum Unbounded book, and the 2 books are both in relation to Mistborn. So we've got the 11th Medal and Mistborn Secret History. I'm not entirely sure what either of those are about or how long they are, but I'm really excited to get more information about just Mistborn in general and get more knowledge of the Cosmere. So now on to the physical books I own. I found a really nice used copy of Percy Jackson and the Olympians at my favorite local used bookstore. This is a series by Rick Riordan that I actually did not grow up reading. So I would really like to get to, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 of them this summer. I hope that I can still have the same kind of, not nostalgic, but kind of feelings that people who grew up with this series did, and that I don't just, I don't know, kind of dislike it because they're not made for me right now. So I'm really hoping to enjoy these. I think I will, but we'll see. So I'm really hoping to get to all 5 of these this summer. I think that would be a lot of fun, and then pass this set on to my son, who will be 9 at the beginning of July, and I think it'd be a lot of fun for him to read those. I think he'll really enjoy them, and we can chat about them and stuff. The next book I have is Pacifica by Kristen Simmons. I think I put this on 3 or 4 TBRs last year and never got around to it. I got this book in a Whimsify subscription box, and I don't believe Whimsify is even around anymore. But I've got a letter to the author that I've washi taped into the inside cover. It's also got a signed book plate. And if I don't get to this year, I am officially going to unhaul it. I keep saying that, but I haven't done it yet. But this is basically, it takes place kind of in a dystopian world, and it reminds me of Waterworld. So we've got blue skies, green grass, clear ocean water, an island paradise like the one that existed before the melt. A lucky 500 lottery winners will be the first to go, the first to leave their polluted, dilapidated homes behind and start a new life. It sounds perfect, like a dream. The only problem, Marin Carey spent her childhood on those seas and knows there's no island paradise out there. She's Corsario royalty, a pirate like her father and his father before him. And she knows a con when she sees one. So where are the first 500 really going? I think this sounds really intriguing. I just haven't been drawn to picking it up. And if I don't pick it up this summer, I don't think I will next summer. So I just need to get rid of it if I'm not going to read it. But I'd like to get to it since I own it and it's a signed copy. I hope I like it. That way I keep it, but we'll see. The next book I have is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I've always tried to read this book in the fall around Halloween because I know it does have witches in it, but this actually takes place during the summer. So I'm going to try and put it on my TBR for the summer. I did read, I believe this was Shay Earnshaw's debut novel, and she came out with Winterwood at the end of last year. And I have already read Winterwood, and I think more people have enjoyed The Wicked Deep than they did Winterwood, so that should be good. But this one follows a town that drowned these sisters for witchcraft, and I believe every summer the sisters come back and they impersonate some girls and like try and lure these guys, something like that. It says 2 centuries ago 3 sisters were sentenced to death for witchery. Stones were tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep water surrounding the town. Now for a brief time each summer the sisters return, stealing the bodies of 3 troubled girls so that they may seek their revenge, luring boys into Sparrow's Harbor and pulling them under. So sounds interesting. Really looking forward to getting to this finally. It's also got a beautiful cover, so I'd like to know what it's about. The next book is a little different for me, and that is Finding God in the Lord of the Rings by Kurt Berner and Jim Ware. I finished a reread of the Lord of the Rings series in this month, the beginning of June actually. And I've had this book on my shelf since Skylar moved in. It is his book. I'm not actually religious, though he is. And I've been intrigued by this book because I know J.R.R. Tolkien was a religious man. And so I do think there is a lot of kind of biblical symbolism and stuff like that in his series that me not growing up having read or knowing very many stories in the Bible, I'm not catching those. and I don't end up catching those in like any books that have a lot of like biblical themes in them, I guess. So I thought it'd be really interesting after my reread, while the story is still fresh in my mind, to go through and read this book and just kind of see what I may have missed. It's very short, so I think I'll be able to get to it fairly quickly. But yeah, it's just not a typical book for me, but I like that it's gonna kind of pull me out of my comfort zone a little bit, while still keeping me rooted in something that is within my comfort zone. So interested to see what that book is about. The next book I have is Emma by Jane Austen. I know a lot of people have been reading this lately because they have done a new movie. I think July and August is also Jane Austen, like July and Jane Austen August. I've not participated in those readathons in the past, but I thought I would kind of have a nod to it with at least one of her books this year. I believe I think I only have 3 of her books left that I haven't read. So knowing that a lot of people love Emma and that there is a movie out, I thought this would be the next best one to get to. A little bit of a chunky one, but I also know that the Barnes & Noble editions have quite a bit of like an introduction and discussion. So this whole first section is all an introduction. So I'm hoping it'll be an easy-ish one to get through, and I'm really excited to see and know why people love this story so much. The next book I have is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. I've been really intrigued by this cover. These covers get me every time. Like, I love covers like this. They just suck me right in. Like, I know this is a World War II based story, and I basically have, ever since seeing this cover, I've been really intrigued by it and I've wanted to pick it up. It's a really short book. I think there's a lot of conflicting opinions on this, and I believe the author has taken quite a few liberties while writing this. So I'm gonna go in kind of knowing that and expecting that. But I actually just had a coworker who doesn't read very often read this book, and he absolutely loved it. So I figured I would try and pick it up in July. That way I could chat with him about it, because I know he wants to share his thoughts and the like. So we'll see what my opinions are. The last book I have picked out is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. I read, what was it called? It's the one that's based in Seattle. I can't remember. Serious Moonlight. I read Serious Moonlight last year and really enjoyed it. And I think the year before I read Starry Eyes. And I didn't like that one as much, but I think I like her writing enough to where I want to read more of her contemporary stories. So this is Alex Approximately. And I'm not going to read the whole synopsis because I think there is a spoiler in this, and I don't want to be reminded of that since it's been a while since I've read the synopsis. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Classic movie fan Bailey Mink Rydell has spent months crushing on a witty film geek she only knows online as Alex. Two coasts separate the teens until Bailey moves in with her dad, who lives in the same California surfing town as her online crush. So I think she continues with this crush and continues kind of chatting with Alex in an online capacity. And I believe she also starts working at like an ice cream parlor or some like summery touristy sort of job. And she meets a guy who I believe she kind of clashes with at first, and then starts developing feelings for him. But she doesn't know what to do because there's this guy, Alex, who she's been crushing on for so long. And then there's her coworker who she didn't like at first and is starting to think that maybe she could like in a different capacity. So I think this is just a very cute summary read that I'm looking forward to getting into. So those are all the months that I would, no, not months, those are all the books I would like to get to during the months of July and August. I'm hoping I'll be able to fit in most of these, but I keep these as bi-monthly TBRs, so I don't really feel as much pressure to read specific books by a specific date. It gives me a little more flexibility in my reading, which I really enjoy. But these are all that kind of have a little summery vibe to them that I think would be perfect during the summer months. So I would love to know if you've read any of these books, and if you have, what your thoughts are on them, and other things like that. So please do let me know down in the comments below, and I will chat with you there until my next video. Bye!